with starting off. Anybody here for the reappointments or the appointments to the Revenue Authority or the Ethics Commission?
Eric Schottel's here.
Oh, James?
Right.
Yeah, you're going to be, we're going to be voting to reappoint you to the Baltimore County Revenue Authority next meeting. And would you like to say anything before we take any questions or make a statement?
Oh, I just look forward to serving the residents of Baltimore County again in the capacity of on the board of the Baltimore County Revenue Authority. And I look forward to any questions you may have.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We certainly appreciate your service on the Revenue Authority. It's a very important function here in Baltimore County, and we appreciate this service or your continued service. Are there any questions or comments from any of the members? Hearing none, I guess we will see you again Monday night.
Sounds good, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. The next is an appointment to the Baltimore County Ethics Commission, Mr. Otis Collins. Is Mr. Collins on the line?
Mr. Chair, someone from the administration reached out earlier and said that Mr. Collins may not be able to make the work session today, so evidently he could not make it on.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Now we will move on to page 4. Mr. Leonard Howard. Director Howard?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Bill 83-21.
Okay. There we go. Good afternoon. Trying to get.
Like many audio problems have been rampant here lately. Okay. Okay, the first one is the ARPA.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The department is requesting a supplemental appropriation of $4.8 million from the state of Maryland's American Rescue Plan. This ARPA funding will be used to serve the sectors and the workforce hit hardest by the COVID-19 pandemic. Service sector workers, many of whom were already working less than full-time schedules, were the first to be furloughed or laid off, as we all know. The proposed solution is to create career pathways that will take these service workers and retool their skill sets to make them competitive for employment within the resurging service sectors, or to upskill these former service sector economy workers so they will be qualified to work in other in-demand sectors. Our efforts will focus on collaboration with partners, including county library branches and community and faith-based organizations, to provide the resources and workforce development programming to these most vulnerable job seekers. Referrals will also come from the county's public sector workforce partners, such as Community College of Baltimore County and Baltimore County Public Schools, county agencies such as the Department of Health and Human Services, Aging and Corrections, as well as the private sector. Training providers will be determined through the county's RFP process, commencing with training in the spring of 2022.
Thank you, Director Howie. Are there any questions or comments from the members? Obviously, that money is very important to the citizens of Baltimore County. Moving right along, let's move on to page 15, the contract with KRA Corporation. Director Howie?
Okay. Baltimore County let's see.
Job Center.
Job Center, yes. Did not.
Understand we're waiting. Have we received or are we waiting for a new economic development job bus?
We have the I'm ready now, but we do have the 2 new vehicles. I'm sorry, we have the 1 vehicle in our possession. It's being outfitted now with all of the IT gadgets that are needed to help job seekers with their searches. The second vehicle is still in process, like many out there, we are waiting for computer chips to go into schools. There's such a shortage worldwide that computer chips alone are delaying the delivery of our second vehicle. We're expected to have it in either late October or early November.
Okay.
Okay, the American Job Centers. The administration is requesting approval of a contract with KRA Corporation to provide support services at the county's 3 American Job Centers. The contract commences October 1st, 2021, and may not exceed $25,000 unless approved by council. If approved, the contract will continue for 1 year and will renew automatically for 3 additional one-year periods with the option to extend the initial term or any renewal term an additional 180 days. The contract does not specify a maximum compensation, but it may not exceed $400,000 for the entire 4-year and 6-month term of the contract. This council approved a similar contract back in 2017 with the same vendor. We did issue an RFP for this service. There was only one response to it. It was the incumbent contractor. We do look forward to additional processes down the road where we will increase the number of respondents to our solicitations.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the members? Thank you very much, Director Howard. We'll
Thank you.
move on to
Mr.
page
Chair?
12. Yes.
Just one quick question.
Mhm.
How did the vendor perform in the previous contract?
The vendor performed well, met all of the requirements. The challenges that everybody had, quite frankly, council member, is that when you're talking about their main job function being to coordinate the services of our resident partners that are there, and to really conduct all of the outreach that's needed to the job seekers, COVID just derailed a lot of that because the centers were closed. So there was not an opportunity to perform in the latter half of this particular contract, but really for this entire last year. So like everybody else, the vendor had to perform its tasks remotely, focusing on those activities that could be performed in such a manner. But I think, as you know, we did reopen the centers last September, September of 2020, and started seeing job seekers as far back as even before there was an official reopening. So they were able to be engaged, but everybody has been engaged on somewhat of a lesser level, reduced level.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions or comments for Director Howard? Okay. Thank you very much, Director Howard. We will move on to page 12, Colonel Layback.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, and everyone else on the call. The administration, police department is requesting approval of a contract with Celebrate Incorporated. The scope of the service under the agreement is for Celebrate Incorporated to provide on-site training and certification to 13 detectives in our Criminal Investigation Bureau and 3 forensics examiners. The certifications are called Celebrate Certified Operators, CCO, and Celebrate Certified Physical Analysts. Individuals performing mobile device forensic require training and certification, which upon completion demonstrate competency in performing the data extraction and enhanced credentials. They need this for court expert witness testimony to records. Training cost is for 13 detectives and forensics examiners receives free seats to this training and certification. The total cost cannot exceed $48,000. We've got a discounted rate from $38.50 to $36.92.30, and upon approval from the council, the training would be completed by June 30th of 22. Celebrate is the only person that manufactures such software, and that would be my presentation. If anyone has any questions.
Thank you. So that I was going to ask the question, but you just answered it in the last statement. They're the only ones that manufacture the software, hence the training. Got it. from them.
Yeah, they're the only entity who can train and certify users for the product.
Gotcha. Are there any questions or comments from the members?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Councilwoman Bevin.
I just have two comments. Thank you, Colonel, for the heads up on the sound. I appreciate that. And secondly, thank you so much for the invite to the forensic lab. I sure learned a lot that day, and really the intense manpower, women power, that it takes to solve crimes, and how important things that we would take for granted that are so important to the police department in solving a crime. I had never been within that part of police department before, and it was really quite interesting. So thank you for that opportunity. And I'd like to also add, I was really impressed by the amount of females that work within that agency. So kudos to you on that as well.
Well, we loved having you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Evans, were you in the beautiful second district
I was in a
at the
public,
forensic lab?
Yes.
I was in a public safety building.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the state police, Councilman. Petoka.
Beautiful fifth district.
Oh, fifth district. Okay.
Yes.
So,
the
I
fifth-
thought I saw a program on television where they were highlighting the fact that there were so many women. Was that our forensic lab, or was that? Yeah.
It was our forensics lab. It's National Forensic Week last week, so our director, Rachel Lucas, put on a week program of visits and tours with the media up there. She did a really nice job with the whole thing. Mr. Chairman, if I could just add a correction here. Celebrate is the manufacturer and owner of the software that we're using. They're the only entity who can train and certify users for the product. I don't want to be misrepresented in what I had said earlier.
I thought that's what you said.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Kathy,
Yeah.
Councilman Bevins threw me off a little bit.
And listen to my fellow council members and anyone else out there, if you never want anybody to find what's in your phone, don't put it in there. Because one day somehow they can get it out. So don't put anything in your phone that you never want anyone else or really the police department to see. Right,
Yeah,
Colonel?
and if anyone on this call wishes to come up and take a tour of the lab, please contact me. I think Director Lucas would love to have you come take a tour through and see what they do. They do some pretty fabulous stuff up there. So let me know.
Hey, look, this
Yeah.
is how we solve rapes and crimes, and it's just, and to hear Robin Coffin from the state's attorney's office talk about how something particular that the forensics lab was able to come up with would actually solve the crime itself if they wouldn't have had that piece of information. And I also thought was very interesting. I think she said going back to 1998, that if you're, whether it was semen, blood, any kind of liquid, if it wasn't as large as a quarter, they couldn't even test it to use for trial. And now it's just like touch. So they've really come a long way, and I was really impressed by that.
Well, one of the things that I've often heard is that despite our tremendous capabilities in our crime lab and the forensic investigations, oftentimes people get confused with what they see on TV, and they
Yeah.
expect so much more from the folks actually doing the job because of what they see on TV.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
quick question for Colonel Laybeck. So the reason I was confused is I was corrected that the state, I think Mr. Chair corrected me, that the state forensic lab is next to the Pikesville precinct building. And I was curious now how we work with the state, like what gets referred to the county forensic lab, how we work with the state forensic lab. What's the hierarchy and how do we coordinate with one another?
Well, we normally we process everything from within our own lab. Obviously, effective October 1, that's going to change with some of the new laws that are going into effect. The state lab's going to have authority over all their terming as officer-involved deaths, departmental shootings. So we basically handle our own evidence. We do our own testing. At times, we can have the state police lab can assist us, but once the laws change, there will be different hierarchies on what the state will have on a case. Does that answer your question?
Well, thank you.
Okay. I'm just going to make one quick comment, and then we're going to move on. I have a tremendous respect for our department and what we do. When I saw that forensic guy from the state who was, I guess he was a coroner from the state of Maryland, sitting there testifying, trying to change the cause of death for George Floyd. I mean, it made a lot of people here in Maryland go, what the, and that guy had retired coroner for the state for many, many years.
He's a medical examiner.
Yeah, medical examiner, right. So anyway, enough of that. Any additional questions or comments? Thank you, Colonel Lavac. Now we move on to page 19. Benjamin Fortcamp, real estate compliance.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. The administration is requesting approval of a contract to acquire a drainage and utility easement and a temporary construction easement totaling approximately 0.21 acre over property owned by Diageo, better known as the Guinness Brewery down by the airport. This is to replace an existing siphon serving the Diageo property that will cross under Amtrak and Herbert Run between Washington Boulevard and the Patapsco River. And they are asking for a price of $10,522.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fortcamp. Are there any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, I just want to know, is Mr. Fortcamp the new person in this position where Amy Grassi was?
I am the acting chief of real estate.
Okay, all right, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, you too.
So I think I guess we have no additional questions, Mr. Fortcamp. If this is an easement, is it a culvert? What is it? Is it a pipe? How big is it? What is it?
It's replacing a 16-inch, it's a sewer pipe
Okay.
benefiting the brewery.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Any additional questions or comments? Thank you very much. Fortcamp, it's good to meet you. And we wish you well. Next, we'll move on to page 22. Mr. Tom Flagg.
Yes, hi, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and council members. Administration is requesting approval of a contract with MB Companies, Inc. to provide annual maintenance and winterization for the county's roadway painting truck and paint striper. The contract commences upon council approval, continues for 1 year, and will renew automatically for 4 additional one-year periods, with the option to extend the initial term or any renewal term an additional 120 days. Contract does not specify a maximum compensation for the initial 1-year term. However, the compensation may not exceed $167,000 for the entire 5-year and 4-month term, including the renewals and extension periods. That concludes my testimony. Ready for any questions that you may have.
Any questions or comments from the member? Hearing none.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Quirk?
Yeah, sorry, my video's not working, but yeah, just real briefly, I mean, clearly I support this, and I know I've sent some comments back to, Public Works, Noella and stuff. Sometimes I've noticed some of the painting maybe goes offline, or maybe some painting going over sticks and things that should be cleared out before painting happens. And so, I mean, I've definitely sent that feedback up to the county, but just something I just wanted to point out. And although this is not exactly that, it's just something, just making sure when these paint trucks are there, that they try to get the lines. I mean, it's tough sometimes, I know, especially on the twisty turn roads, I get it. But then when I'm seeing white paint going over sticks and dirt and everything else, when I know it should be cleaned a little better, just whoever's kind of watching over that stuff, but we could just, make sure that that's happening. So just a little feedback, but thank you.
Duly noted, Councilman. Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? We'll move right along to page 26, a Team Service Corporation.
Yes, the administration is requesting approval of a contract with TEAM Service Corporation of New York to provide electric motor repair services for county-owned and maintained pumping stations. Contract commences on October 3rd, 2021, continues through April 30th of 2022, and may not exceed $25,000 unless approved by council. If approved, the contract will continue through October 2nd, 2022, and will renew automatically for 4 additional one-year periods, with the option to extend the initial term or any renewal term an additional 120 days. Contract does not specify a maximum compensation for the initial one-year term or for the entire 5-year and 4-month term, including the renewal and extension periods. Compensation may not exceed the amount appropriated for these services for the entire contract term. Estimated compensation totals $113,000 for the initial one-year term and $565,000 for the entire 5-year and 4-month term, including the renewals and extensions. That concludes my testimony, unless there are additional questions.
Thank you, Mr. Flagg. Are there any questions or comments from the members? Thank you very much, Mr. Flagg.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to page 30. Ms. Laura Rowley.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. The administration is requesting approval of 4 contracts to provide assisted living services for eligible county residents age 62 and older who meet income and eligibility requirements. The 4 homes include Empathy Home, doing business as Holistic Care in Reisterstown, and Rising Sun Assisted Living 1, 2, and 3 in the Randallstown and Windsor Mill areas. These contracts will commence on October 4th, continue through June 30th, 2022, renewing automatically for 4 additional one-year terms. This puts them in the same cycle as our other 29 homes. We are adding homes as often as we can in order to offer more consumer choice for our residents, making sure that we have as much coverage across the county as possible.
Thank you, Ms. Rowley. Are there any questions or comments from any of the members? Thank you so much, Ms. Rowley.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, we'll move on to Director David Lykin.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the County Council. I have several things for you, but the first is water, soil, and fish tissue sample analysis. The administration is requesting approval of 2 contracts. One is with Martel Labs and one is with Test America. They were the only 2 people that bid on this, or 2 companies that bid on this contract, to provide chemical analysis of water, soil, and fish tissue samples collected in the county's waterways. The contractors will provide all the materials and labor necessary to do this. The county has its own lab to test water samples, and we do use that for many of the things that many of the samples we collect, we take to the county's lab, but they're not able to do some of the more extensive stuff, the fish tissue and some of the more detailed chemical analyses. So we need a private lab to help us out with that. So these are 2, they're 1-year contracts with 4 one-year renewals for both of these companies, maximum compensation not to exceed $150,000 over the whole 5 years.
1 second. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the members?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go right ahead, Councilman Bacoka.
Mr. Likens, thank you. What the fish tissue samples, what will that tell us? And are there things that we're looking for that will tell us that we're doing well, or will it indicate that we need to do better in some of our environmental areas?
Sure, there's lots of different things that we're looking for. In our MS4 permit, it asks us to look for a lot of different things. And while we do look for, when we take water samples, we're looking for phosphorus and nitrogen, looking for sediment. But when you get into the tissue samples, you're starting to look for things that we've seen in the past in county waters, some of the legacy things, chloridane, PCBs, mercury, and those things show up. I'm sure you remember recently, in a few years, maybe 2 years back, we won a big lawsuit with Monsanto regarding PCBs. But that's where you see this stuff. It turns up in a lot of fish tissues. Bioaccumulation, sometimes it gets into the small things in the water column, it gets into the sediments, gets into the smaller things, larger things eat the smaller things, and eventually through bioaccumulation, it shows up in the fish tissue.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Councilman Mark.
I believe today is Mr. Likens' birthday, isn't it?
Damn, I'm
Oh, it certainly is.
Happy birthday.
I haven't-
Thank you,
haven't-
Councilman Marks.
I was not going to let him get away, but I appreciate it. Happy
I
birthday.
have my hand up.
Mr. Chair, this is Crandall.
Do we have to sing to you?
No, please not.
But I want to.
I've heard some of the members sing.
You can certainly sing if you want to. 1 second, Councilman Crandall. I think Councilwoman Bevins is next.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to wish him a happy birthday. A little birdie told me it was his birthday.
Thank you.
And Mark's beat me to the punch.
Well, happy
Enjoy,
birthday.
enjoy your, I hope you seize the day.
Happy birthday.
I
And
appreciate
may you
it.
have many, many more.
Absolutely.
So, Mr. Chair, are you ready for me?
Yes, sir. Councilman Crandall.
Mr. Likens, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Wanted to just a little bit off topic, but wanted to inquire about the news that's coming about the potential of a Superfund site for Bear Creek. Is the county involved in that process at all? Can you speak to that at all?
Well, that's a long and lengthy process, and no, the county is not involved other than to be informed.
Mhm.
That's something that's coming out of the federal government. So that'll take many years to come to fruition and see where exactly that's going to be and what they're going to actually do about it. So that's a federal agency doing it.
Sure. Yeah, I just didn't know what the county's involvement would be, and I know it's very early in the process. So
Right, we're informed. They keep us informed, but specifically with Trade Point Atlantic, the cleanup efforts at Trade Point Atlantic, the onshore stuff is being done by MDE, and
Right.
we're being informed about it, and the offshore stuff is being done by the federal government, and we're informed about it. So
Thank you very much, Councilman Crandall.
Okay.
You
So,
were such a best.
well,
You-
and
you-
that answers my question. Yeah, my request is that you, as information becomes available, that you just keep us apprised.
Sure, absolutely.
As you,
And they
as
do
you
a very
usually
good
do.
job of having frequent, I think, quarterly meetings where they explain to the public everything that they're doing. So they've been
Correct,
very
correct.
forthcoming.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Crandall, for throwing cold water on our party. We were celebrating Mr. Likens' birthday. We're all in the festive mood. We're ready to sing and dance. And here you are, back to business, talking about the Superfund site. Terrific.
This is not the first time that I've been called a party pooper.
Debbie Downer.
You know.
It was a relevant question, Councilman.
Oh, no, we understand. Little green slime
Thank
for
you.
the birthday cake. Mr. Likens, we have some more?
Sure.
Thought
Next,
cost analysis.
next is a contract for forest assessment and forest analysis. The administration is requesting approval of a contract with Marlin Environmental to provide on-call licensed forestry services, and that's key, forestry services throughout the county, including forest analysis and assessments of tree canopies and implementing reforestation projects throughout the county for all of our different programs. The difference is in this particular case that this contractor is a forester and a registered professional forester that uses a lot of very specified techniques by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA Forest Service. They have a forest ecosystem decision support software that this forester uses that's being used by the federal government and by Maryland DNR. I believe this contractor also performs services for DNR. We've had them on contract for many years, since 2009, to perform forestry services. They have not raised their prices notably in the last 12 years, but this is to continue their contract over the next, I think this could actually extend out 9 years. It's a 3-year contract with 3 2-year possible renewals, but they do everything. They have analyzed all the Rec and Parks properties. They've written forest health assessments for county parks. So this is a continuation. The difference with this particular vendor is that they have professional licensed foresters on staff. They don't just plant trees, they do the whole thing.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the members? No. Real fast, Director Likens, thinking about the fish samples, fish tissue samples. Do we have any frankenfish in any waterways in Baltimore County?
Frankenfish?
Oh, you know, the snakehead.
The snakeheads? Oh yeah, they're everywhere. They're
Okay.
everywhere. They're in the Patapsco River. They're in many places. They are very invasive, and lots of people find them interesting to try to catch and enjoy it. But yeah,
Mr. Chair, if I can chime in, there was just a snakehead fish tournament put on by several different organizations. And the county executive, if I'm not mistaken, actually ate snakefish.
Okay. I know that it's all part of the attempt to try to
Snakeheads, not snakefish.
Rita.
Snakehead fish. Yeah.
They say the anglers are probably the best hope of getting rid of.
Yeah, I think at the very beginning, there was hope that we could nip it in the bud and keep them out of some waterways. But at this point, I think they've really progressed everywhere. And they're in most of the waterways, most of the fresh waters. Yeah.
Any additional questions or comments? All right, one more, Mr. Likens.
Thank you. This is for our rural reforestation program. The administration is requesting approval of 3 contracts to provide rural reforestation services throughout the county. We again put this out to bid, and we took the 3 low bidders, some of which we already have used in the past. It's each contract commences upon council approval and continues for 3 years, and with 2 automatic 1-year renewals. These guys are the ones that go out and plant the trees for us, not just the street trees. They go out and they plant acres and acres, 20 acres, 50 acres for us. So it's EQR, Wright Environmental Services, and Empire Landscaping were the 3 low bidders. So they plant trees for us everywhere.
Okay, so Director Likens, I do have a question for you. So if it were my birthday, my family would put candles on a cake. And since you're the director of the Department of Environment Protection and Sustainability, do they plant trees for your birthday? And then the question would become, how many trees would they plant?
That's a great question. They would probably plant 61 trees.
Okay.
If we were to do that.
Okay, sounds good. Hopefully we won't set them on fire.
David, you don't look a day over 60.
Well, thank you so much.
I
Mr. Chair.
appreciate your help.
Yes.
I'll pile on and say happy birthday, Mr. Likens. But do have a question for you in
Sure.
terms of the replanting of the rural reforestation. Are they planting saplings, or what size trees get planted in reforestation?
Well, typically for the rural reforestation program, we're using 3-gallon pots and something between a whip and a 1-inch tree. A whip might be 2 to 3 feet tall. A 1-inch tree might be 5 to 6 feet tall, but somewhere in between. Many times they're trimmed before they're actually planted. We historically have gone with standard size throughout the plantings. I've encouraged the current manager of our program to mix and match, plant some larger 1-inch trees, plant some smaller seedlings, mix it all up. Let's have different, instead of having a uniform size, let's plant different things in different species and different sizes to try to see what does best and what would be the most successful thing. So right now we're mixing and matching, but the majority of them are 3-gallon pots.
I see. And I'm assuming all native species?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Councilman Mark.
thank you very much. I'm really intrigued and excited by a lot of these tree planting programs. I know we're doing a lot with the urban canopy. Mr. Likens, can you give us a sense of the scale of this project? I looked through the notes. I didn't see a number. Any idea on the number of trees we could be planting, the opportunity areas for planting, et cetera? It's a sizable amount of money, and looks like it could have a significant impact.
Yes. So this is over a number of years, and these are 3 different companies, and it's 8 million plus. And through our MS4 permit that we're required to try to address water quality issues, one of the best ways to do that, we do stream restoration projects, we do stormwater management projects, we do shoreline enhancement, and we plant trees. Those are the 4 major programs. Planting of trees gives us the most bang for the buck. So it really, the hardest thing about planting trees is finding places to plant them. A lot of in the urban areas, it's very difficult because the land is so valuable. These are the large plantings, right? These aren't just street trees. These are going out and planting acres at a time, 5 acres. And we've already done most of the county properties. We've worked with Recreation and Parks and Property Management over the years to plant a lot of. If you go to Cromwell Valley Park in your district, you'll see those very successful plantings. We planted about 20 acres there. So over the years, we're looking at several hundred acres per year. So if that gives you a scale of what we're, the more we can do, we'll do as many as we can get. We were estimating this year, at the beginning of the year, that we would try to plant at least 5,000 trees. I think we ended up somewhere in the last calendar year, somewhere around 15,000 trees of various sizes and shapes.
Wow, that's awesome. Great, thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
Mr. Chairman.
yes, Councilman Cat.
Yeah, thank you very much. Mr. Likens, first of all, happy birthday. And
Thank you, sir.
yeah, don't set the house on fire. Do have a question. Of the 15,000 trees that were planted last year, what % of them will be around, let's say, 10 years from now?
So we're picking these areas. Suppose we have a 1 acre area that we're planting. We're going to pick a certain number of trees per acre that we go and we plant. And we're going to get a 3-year guarantee from our contractor when we plant them. So they're responsible for the first 3 years. After that time period, you're also going to get other volunteers, we call them, come in through birds, through wind, through other seed banks that are in the ground, and they're going to provide additional trees. It won't just be the 120 trees that we planted for that 1 acre. Lots of other things will come through over the years. We have a program. The state says that you need to keep them, in order to get credit for them as a forest, you need to keep them alive at least 10 years and go back and report on them. So several years ago, we passed a contract through perhaps you'll remember, that was for maintenance for all of our tree programs, whether it's forest conservation or MS4. And it had 3 components to this maintenance program. We send people out to do inspections. So that's the first component, to see what percentage are still alive. After that first 3 years, let's go back after the 5th year and inspect it, see what percentage is still alive. The second part of that contract is to do maintenance after the 3 years, to go back and maybe you need to weed whack. Maybe you need to get the vines off the trees. Maybe you need to spray. And then the third part of that contract is to actually replace and keep it up to a certain level of survivorship. So we're looking for, the Forest Conservation Act says 75% survivorship after 3 years. We're looking to get that, plus have a lot of additional volunteers come in. So we actually do have programs now where we're going back and checking on all of the plantings that we do.
Good. And the contractors, after 3 years, I know you explained some of the things that they do. Do they replace all of the trees that die after 3 years?
So the original contract for us, it's 90%. They have to go every year and make sure that at least 90% survivorship occurs. In the Forest Conservation Act, when private developers plant, they're required to go back every year and provide a report and replace up to make sure 75% of theirs are still alive.
Because I can remember your predecessor giving a pretty bleak picture of the tree planting program in regard to how many survived after 10 years. So I'm very happy to hear that the department has changed policies, has a new has a way to approach this issue, that we will have more trees alive in the future. And thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for my delay. Mr. Likens, you may want to share with the council the tree equity effort that we're kicking off, so that tree planting across the county, in terms of consideration where we're planting trees and the characteristics of how that project is going, since it is so innovative.
Okay, well, I could give them my PowerPoint, but that would take me 20 minutes, but I'll give them
Just
the
the
synopsis.
short version, the elevator version.
The elevator version is we have a tree equity program that the county executive asked us to look at. And some of the things they're doing in other states and other cities, in Pittsburgh and Detroit. And what we did was we did an analysis of places where we have a tree canopy coverage goal in the county of 50% in the urban area, I mean, in the rural areas, and 40% in the urban areas. And that's shooting for the year 2025. So what we did was we did an analysis with all the computer stuff these days, with all the forest cover analysis. So we did tree canopy coverage, and we analyzed it in this particular case versus income level. So we looked at the people who had the lowest incomes and how they're related to how much tree canopy coverage they had. And we found that there's a whole lot of benefits to tree canopy coverage that are provided to people, including lower emergency room visits, lower asthma rates, all kinds of health benefits associated with tree canopy coverage. And so we did an analysis for the whole county, and we looked to see where the lowest incomes were, because they're the people that can least afford to replace the trees on their own. So it's really an equity issue. This is like true equity. It's tree canopy coverage versus income level. And we analyzed the entire county, and we came up with the lowest scores for the lowest 30 places that had a combination of low income and low tree canopy coverage. And we developed a program with the county executive, who funded it for us, to go and work in those 30 different neighborhoods. We use census block data to take it all the way down to the census block level. And this fall, we're working on 4 different locations, all of which happen to be in the top 10 list. And in the Inverness neighborhood in Dundalk is our first. We're shooting for November 1st to start planting, but the first 4 areas are there. And then in the spring, we're going to plant probably 3 or 4 more areas throughout the county. I think we probably have locations in everybody's councilmatic district except maybe Mr. Koch. I'm not sure, Councilman Koch, if we have one, because you have so much forest in so many of your districts. But again, the purpose of the program is to provide equity and to go and help the people that can least afford to help themselves, to get them the health benefits that trees provide, and to go into those neighborhoods and plant as many trees as we can.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you for the elevator version. And sounds very interesting. Any
Mr.
additional-
Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, I too just want to echo a lot of the comments earlier from other council members. I mean, this is
I'm sorry, I
Yes,
can't
Mr.
hear you.
Can you hear me better now? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, there you go.
Okay, sorry, I'm kind of in a bad location here, but yeah, no, it's a great program. I just think this is phenomenal. And I guess, Mr. Likens, two things. One, happy birthday.
Thank you.
And two, how is your program connecting up with groups such as the Catonsville Tree Canopy? You're doing wonderful work as well. Are we coordinating a lot with those groups as well? Just to
You're breaking up on me again, but yes, absolutely. We work with, we have obviously the watershed groups like the Tapsco Heritage Group that we give money to, but then there's many other private groups that we deal with that we're willing to help in any way we can, whether it be with.
Keep going, Mr. Likens.
Well, I guess the point is we just work with anybody that is interested in planting trees. We're more than happy to partner with them at the local level. Green Towson Alliance in Towson and Councilman Marks' neighborhood here in Towson. Rattleball Park, we provided the trees to plant in Rattleball Park. It doesn't have to be a giant 20-acre planting. If any community associations or any small watershed groups that need help, we're more than happy to do and work with them and partner with them.
Okay. Councilman Quirk?
That's all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Likens.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Likens. Enjoy your birthday. And we will move on to page 30. Ms. Laura Riley. No, I'm sorry. Page 1 is Amy Mata.
I believe this is for Bill 8221. Is that correct?
8221.
All right. So this bill calls for the creation of new design review panel areas for the central node of Liberty Road and the commercial core of historic Dundalk. These areas would be added to the comprehensive manual of development policies, and that's used by the design review panel to review proposed non-residential development in those areas.
Okay. Any questions or comments? I would like to.
Mr. Chair, it's Crandall again.
Okay, Councilman Crandall, go right ahead.
We're discussing Dundalk, Essex, and Liberty Road.
Now we're adding Liberty Road to the design review areas that currently exist.
Okay. Well, I want to thank Ms. Mante and her team. Dundalk and Essex. It might be a little premature in on the agenda here, but I just want to thank her in advance for the effort that they have put in to finally getting Dundalk and Essex the designations and a design review panel that other communities have had for a long time, that these communities haven't. So Amy, good job, and looking forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you.
And on that note, I want to take this opportunity to thank Ms. Gonay, who did a fantastic job of working with the communities and the residents here on the Liberty Road corridor, working through this entire process, coming up with some very good recommendations for future development, commercial development or redevelopment, we should say. And she did an excellent job and continues to do a great job for our residents. And I just wanted to thank her so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Are you more than welcome? Any additional questions or comments? Okay. Moving right on to page 8. Energy and Sustainability Coordinator, Mr. Seth Lohman.
Yes, good afternoon, Council. This bill is a request from the administration for a supplemental appropriation of state funds. We received a state grant totaling $400,000 to the Resilience and Sustainability Capital Project Fund. The funds will be used to support the construction and installation of rooftop solar at the Randallstown Community Center and the Hunt Valley facility, sometimes referred to as Hunt Valley Facility Gilroy. The county intends to sub-grant the funds to SunPower, who is the solar developer, to help offset some of our contract costs for the solar power. We now have executed agreements with SunPower for the construction and installation of these rooftop systems. We have 2 25-year contracts that are through solar power purchase agreements. So we get a certain rate of energy of dollars, or actually on cents on the dollar per kilowatt hour for the energy with SunPower. So this process of solar started in 2019 when we solicited a competitive process for solar power for county facilities and grounds. We executed an agreement with SunPower for 2 rooftop systems for these 2 facilities. And they're going about due diligence processes. They're in charge of all rebate and grant applications. So that's what they went forward with here. Just to give you a sense, the power purchase agreements are the energy rates to be paid, and they're locked in at the same rate over the 25-year term. There are termination there's termination values if we choose to terminate, and there's a renewal option of 3 years and a subsequent 5-year renewal options. So at least 95% of the energy is guaranteed, and we pay a locked-in rate over the 25 years, as I said. We expect the construction of these systems to begin in March of next year, and the systems will be operational by July for the rooftop systems. So the proposed $400,000 supplemental appropriation will be used to support the costs of these solar projects. It's $200,000 for each building, so total $400,000. And we received this grant from the Maryland Energy Administration. We formally adopted a grant agreement on June 17th of this year. And the grant agreement goes through April 23, but we'll be done with the project well in time by sometime next year, as I mentioned, in July. So with the affirmative vote of 5 members, the bill 8421 will take effect on October 17th. Thank you.
Thank you. So just so that I understand, I appreciate your presentation. It's going to cost us $200,000 to put these panels up?
No, this is a grant we received from the state towards the project, so it'll help offset some of the contract cost, and we're sub-granting it to SunPower to help that contract rate lower a little bit. It's not a huge effect, but it does help us. So we had them apply, and then we will receive the grant.
Okay. Other than that, I understand I guess I see these contracts often with homeowners where people will put the panels on their roof at no expense to them. Then they get an opportunity to purchase the power at a fixed rate for 25 years.
Yes, that's the same for us. Yeah, it's a locked-in rate for 25 years.
But we're not putting out any money other than the grant.
No, if you take just right, no, we're not putting anything up. We're receiving the grant and we're not expending anything up front, right?
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the members? But I was just curious as to whether or not there was $200,000 in savings over 20 years. That was my question, but it's not out 200,000. Okay. Thank you very much. There's no additional questions or comments. Let's see. We'll move on to page 34. Ms. Lori Hay. Community Plan, Resolution 126-21.
Good afternoon. This is the Dundalk resolution.
Yes, Dundalk Commercial Revitalization District.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. The Dundalk Design Guidelines and recommendation to become a design review area was initiated at the request of the Executive Office and developed through a partnership effort with members of the Dundalk community. An advisory committee made up of representatives from the Dundalk Renaissance Corporation, the Dundalk Chamber of Commerce, the St. Helena Community Association, and the Turner Station Community Association, along with staff and 7 District Council office, worked with the community to create design guidelines for the historic section of Dundalk, as well as for some existing properties further south along Dundalk Avenue. These guidelines will be used by the county's design review panel to enhance and improve the design of redevelopment projects within the Dundalk Commercial Revitalization Area. They build upon some existing facade guidelines that were developed for the Main Street area earlier, and now also include new construction, streetscape, sustainability, and arts and culture. The proposal to enlarge the DRP area grew out of the advisory committee recommendation, and it now includes the Logan Village Shopping Center, which has substantial vacancies and is in need of redevelopment, and some properties further south on Dundalk Avenue, close to the traffic circle at the entrance to the Turner Station community. These guidelines were addressed and approved by the planning board in June, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments?
Just a quick comment, Mr. Chair, Crandall again.
Yes.
I just want to thank everyone for their efforts on this. It's been a long time coming, and there's nothing that works like a plan. So we finally have one, and there's been a lot of hours put into this, and I appreciate it, and the citizens of Dundalk appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councilman Marks.
Thank you very much. I certainly applaud the planning department's emphasis on these design guidelines, and I know that we have very robust guidelines in Perry Hall and in Townsend and so forth. I do want to use this as an opportunity to say that I think the county needs to turn its attention to the Loch Raven area. Laurie, you were very helpful with the task force that I put together looking at zoning. As downtown Townsend gets developed out, I believe that we're going to have more and more pressures along the Joppa Road, particularly the aging Loch Raven Boulevard Joppa Road corridor. And you know, it's in a design review panel area, but there really are no guidelines. And I really would like for this to be considered in the future for specific guidelines. But Laurie, thank you for all your help with that effort, and certainly what we're considering today.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Go right ahead, Councilman Felton.
Thank you. Just want to acknowledge the great work of the planning department. I think Councilman Crandall and Councilman Marks, thank you for acknowledging their great work. And I also want to say, want to acknowledge Miss Hay, Laurie Hay, because she's been an unsung hero at the Baltimore County Department of Planning for many, many years and done an outstanding job, but rarely does she come before council. And I think that there are many unsung heroes in the Baltimore County Planning Department, and Miss Hay is an outstanding planner in her own right, and one of those tremendous employees at the Baltimore County Planning Department.
Thank you, Izzy.
My pleasure.
Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, thank you very much, Ms. Hay, and thank you for your service. And next, we will move right along to page 36, Essex Commercial Revitalization District. You do that one already?
No, I'm going to do that one also.
All right, go right ahead.
Okay. The Essex Design Guidelines and the recommendation to enlarge the design review panel area also grew out of a collaborative process with the Eastern Baltimore County Task Force, a subgroup of the Chesapeake Gateway Chamber of Commerce. The area had very old guidelines that were adopted in the 1980s and were in much need of updating. The group worked in partnership with the county staff, representatives of the larger community, and the council offices, both 6th and 7th, to develop guidelines that address today's market for commercial development and expanded the boundary to include some key commercial properties, such as the Kingston Park Shopping Center. The advisory group met from November of 2020 to April of 2021. The proposed guidelines focus on downtown storefront facades, best practices for building conversions, new construction, and establishing an area theme and identification. The design review panel will use these guidelines to review projects in the commercial revitalization area, particularly on Eastern Avenue, where efforts are being focused, and will assist the Eastern Baltimore County Task Force in the allocation of funding for their facade improvement grant program, which has been funded by the state's Community Legacy Program. And I'll take any questions.
Mr. Chair, I have to chime in once again.
Go right ahead, Councilman Crandall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Hay, I know how passionate you are for this stuff, and I do appreciate your work. But I don't think that you've been in the planning department as long as Councilman Patoka thinks you have. You are nowhere near as old as David Likens. But thank you for the excellent work, and it's not always an easy task to bring together different groups and different individuals, and you and the planning department were able to do that, and again come with an updated plan for an area that a lot of our constituents feel has been ignored for a long time. So thank you very, very much for your work.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments from the members? Again, we thank you very much for your service, Ms. Day, and continue to do a great job. Next, we'll move on to page 39. Ms. Gone. The Daya, is that right?
Joe, yes.
Yo.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the County Council. My name is Ngone Job. So the Department of Planning, in partnership with community stakeholders, have developed commercial design guidelines for section of the Liberty Road corridor. The aesthetic look of the corridor has been a major concern of the community, and creating design guidelines for Liberty Road will achieve the desired character for the area. So the process also includes designating Liberty Road as a design review panel area. The focus of the design guidelines and the DRP area includes the 8 shopping centers that are located on Liberty Road between I-695 and Greens Lane. The design elements focus on architecture, signage, landscaping, and streetscape. These elements remain the most important in giving a community a sense of place and contributing to the visual aesthetic of an area. The design guidelines will apply to new commercial developments, rehabilitation of vacant or dilapidated commercial properties, alterations and renovation of existing commercial buildings, addition to existing commercial buildings, and commercial properties requesting a zoning petition. The design guidelines draft and the DRP area were introduced to Planning Board on May 20, 2021. On June 3, 2021, Planning Board held a public hearing, and immediately following the public hearing, voted to approve the guidelines and DRP area. The Department of Planning would like to take this opportunity to thank Councilman Jones and his staff for all the help and support given to this project. The Department of Planning would also like to thank the community for their involvement and dedication. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gone Joe. You certainly have been a tremendous asset to our community, and all the community leaders certainly enjoy working with you, and we really appreciate all your efforts to bring this process to where we are today. And I look forward to voting for it Monday, and I would ask my colleagues to support it as well. Again, we thank you very much. I know it can be very difficult. I was there on, if not all the meetings, certainly most of them. And some folks want an awful lot. But
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
you managed the process very well. I appreciate it. Any
Thank
additional
you.
questions? You're welcome. Any additional questions or comments? All right, thank you so much. And last, but certainly not least today, we move on to page 41. We have a star, our very own James Benjamin, the county attorney, who was on the Today Show, he and his family. So we congratulate him, and we'll stand around for our autographs later. Mr. Benjamin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the council, good afternoon, everybody. That was a wonderful experience. My family being on the Today Show on the virtual plaza. It was something I'll always remember. So thank you for that.
Good. Remember, I'm the first to get the autograph. I said it first.
Very good. Resolution 132-21 seeks approval of the continuation of the local state of emergency initially declared by the county executive on August 23rd, 2021 in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. On August 23rd, 2021, the county executive declared that a state of emergency exists in Baltimore County due to COVID-19. On August 30th, 2021, the county council authorized continuation of that state of emergency with the approval of resolution 112-21, which is set to expire October 4th, 2021. Resolution 132-21 declares it is likely that the state of emergency will continue beyond October 4th, 2021, and authorizes the continuation of the state of emergency for an additional 30 days beyond October 4th, 2021, ending on November 3rd, 2021, or when the county executive declares an end to the state of emergency, whichever occurs first. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benjamin. Are there any questions or comments from the members? Any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go right ahead, Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Benjamin, to your knowledge, were county employees or department heads made aware of the vaccine requirement in advance of the announcement?
When you say the announcement, what are you referring to?
The announcement of the requirement that county employees need to be vaccinated.
Would Miss, not sure if Ms. Rogers is
I'm asking, well, I guess I'm asking the administration, not necessarily Mr. Benjamin.
I don't think that requirement, not to speak for the administration, but let me just say, prior to the announcement, I'm assuming they may not have known, but when the announcement was made, they have until October the 15th to get vaccinated. The deadline, they still have another 15, 17 days.
Mr. Chair, may I be recognized, please?
Yes, go right ahead.
If I'm understanding the council member's question correctly, were before the announcement, meaning the press conference, the administration had internal discussions with our leadership team. Yes, we did. Were staff notified of the announcement? No, staff were not notified prior to that, but they received a notice at the same time that we were moving in that direction, which is the case of how we make announcements on things that will impact county government operations. For example, when we return to wearing masks, at the same time, we notify the leadership team, which is the department heads, and office heads of the direction that we're going. Then simultaneously, with respect to the press release, we also communicate internally through our all staff communication. We try to sequence that in that manner each time we make a major shift that's going to impact government operations.
Ms. Rogers, thank you for that response. To follow on to my question, were the unions consulted at all before this decision was made?
Yes, they were. Had we gone into negotiations, no. They were indeed notified that we were moving in this direction. Deputy County Administrative Officer Drew Vetter did verbally alert all of the unions that we were headed in this direction and that the press conference was indeed going to be held. That is the sequencing of that. We tried to do that with everything, everything that we're doing that has an impact, and that we wanted to come to the table to negotiate the terms and conditions on implementation. And since the press conference, we indeed have been doing that. We've been at the negotiating tables. When I say we, Mr. Vetter has been at the negotiating tables with the unions, FOP, Fire, AFSCME. They've been at the table to negotiate the implementation. And as a result of those conversations, we've made several adjustments in how this implementation will happen. The biggest operational impact is to bring for those who are not vaccinated and choose not to be vaccinated, we are bringing the testing inside. We are bringing on-site testing. We are engaging with a contractor where we will have on-site testing. So once we know who will need to be tested, all of those employees will be given their specific instructions on how the weekly testing will run. That was a result of our negotiating with the unions.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, 1 second, let's, Councilman Burke, Councilman Crandall, are you done?
Yes, sir. I'm done. Thank you, Ms. Rogers, for your responses. I appreciate it.
You're quite welcome.
Councilman Burke.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Rogers, I've heard that there's possibly some discussions right now about maybe the implementation date possibly being changed from maybe the 15th to perhaps the 1st. Is that mostly just conversations, or is that something that we might be leaning toward?
We are indeed leaning toward that date to give everybody the degree of comfort in doing this that they need. We have been open to the union's requests, but pushing the implementation date back for the mandatory weekly testing, yes, sir. We are indeed discussing that. We've discussed that with the proposed vendor, because here's the reality of where we are. In order to do this on site, we have 1,600 county buildings and facilities. We have to now get employees to, the first phase is to get employees who are vaccinated to register so we know who's vaccinated and then who's not. Those who are not vaccinated, we have to then look at the logistics as to where they work so we can work with the vendors in setting up times. They're by appointment in these buildings throughout the week. We're trying to make this as simple and least impactful to the workflow for our employees. So the extra time is beneficial to us as well, because until we know who needs to do the testing, and right now, as of last week, out of our full workforce, there were approximately 3,000 employees that we don't have record of being vaccinated. And that could be for a number of reasons, because our data that we get from the state does not reflect individuals who live out of the state of Maryland who are employees and may very well be vaccinated because they were vaccinated in their home state, like Pennsylvania, West Virginia. We do have a number of employees who live across the Pennsylvania line and could have been vaccinated in Pennsylvania. We can't see their data. But when people register, when we go through phase 1, which we're still planning to kick off October 1st, through October 1st to October 15th, we're asking all of our employees who are vaccinated to simply complete minimal information so that we'll know all of our employees who are vaccinated, and then those who are not vaccinated. The Department of Human Resources will be working directly with them to set up their appointments with the testing the testing contractor. But we are indeed looking at moving that mandatory testing piece back to November.
Any additional questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead, Councilman Mark.
Yeah, I'll be very brief. I just want to, I think, join my colleagues in urging the administration to continue to collaborate with the unions. I think over the past few years, we've worked in a spirit of collegiality with them, particularly as we got through the budget. And I know that these are not popular decisions with many of their members. The presidents are hearing from many of their members about this, and I appreciate your level of engagement with them.
Well,
thank you, Councilmember Marks.
I'm going to go on the other side, Ms. Rogers, and I'm a card-carrying union member. Been a union member for probably since I was 16 years old. Been in union leadership and have the card to prove it. And let me just say this: I think the where we are now is, have we given any thought to the fact that are we becoming enablers? In other words, we've had a point now where people that are not taking the vaccine, people are requiring them to get tested in lieu of receiving the vaccine. Some jobs are saying get tested or don't come to work, period. I think we're at a point where the people that are not getting vaccinated are not getting vaccinated for a whole host of reasons. But the idea is to not just encourage, but sort of put some obstacles in their way to make them get the vaccine. Whether they like it or not, whether they believe it or not, we could be saving some of their lives.
Preaching.
Now, the question is, are we becoming enablers when we say we want a state of emergency? And by the way, you must get vaccinated or get tested. That's fine. Let them go out on their own and get tested and be inconvenienced, and then maybe they change their mind and get vaccinated. But if we're going to do it at work, we're going to make it easier for the people that don't get vaccinated to continue to not get vaccinated. What are we doing? We're taking one step up and two steps back. It's almost as if we're enabling them. And then I haven't even got to the question of how much money are we going to pay for making it so convenient for people that don't want to get vaccinated.
Councilmember Jones, I understand your position, and basically we have worked diligently to try to make this work for everyone, but we also have workload implications regarding the time that individuals were going to have to go, just using the health department time frames because of those hours. We worked with Dr. Branch, and they were going to add, add evening sessions, but it's getting harder and harder to get tests in the community. This is what was reported back to us. If people could only go, employees could only go during the testing times of the current clinics, that was going to create workload impact and some other complications based on provisions in the MOUs. So you're going to pay, you have to pay one way or another based on the union provisions. But for the sake of ensuring a safe workplace and minimizing the workload impact by people having to take up to 3 hours and not be on site, because that's when they could go to the health department. And candidly, Dr. Branch said that they did not feel like they could expand any more hours in the evening based on their own workload impact, knowing that they have to implement coming up the boosters. We're trying to gear up for the children's vaccinations. This plan, in conjunction with the union, was the best avenue for us to go. But I certainly understand and recognize what you're talking about. But we weighed every option because we were going to have to pay time to bargaining unit staff to go get tested if they were doing it off, outside of their tours of duty and outside of the health department time. So money was going to have to be put out either way in overtime and callback pay. It's a wash from the monetary standpoint, but it significantly reduces the workload impact, and it significantly reduces the impact on the health department.
I'm not sure, and I don't want to debate it here. I'm just going to make this statement. I'm not so sure we would have been obligated to pay overtime or callback pay because we make a requirement during a state of emergency that you must be vaccinated. And one of the number one things that my neighbor around the corner had told me, when people come to that hospital, and he's an emergency room doctor, and they're in bad shape, the first thing he asked them is, are you vaccinated?
You vaccinated.
And when they say no, they often follow that up with, I wish I would have had this done.
Yes, sir.
And it's like, okay, enough of that. Thank you very much.
Sir, we can talk to you offline. There was a legal obligation to pay them based on labor laws, but we're happy to give you more detail on that with respect to the payment. But we're trying to consider the workload impact on the health department as well, given flu season, gearing up for the under 12 population, the children that's coming up upon us as well. And the boosters, we're going to have to cycle in vaccinated people. And Dr. Branch felt like this extra help would help them as well. So we considered that.
So I guess the issue for me is the idea of the test, for the most part, is to make it inconvenient people so that they wouldn't in fact get it. If you make the testing very convenient, then you're not doing anything by requiring them to do it. Because then they'll just do the test on duty and they'll be no better off than they were, prior to taking it. But I understand, or maybe I don't understand, but I'm picking up enough people's time here today. Any additional questions from the members?
Mr. Chair?
Go right ahead, Councilman Crandall.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, but I have to ask a very simple question. And this is for our legal counsel that are on the call with us. Under what authority does the county executive have, based on the state of emergency powers, to require Baltimore County employees to be vaccinated or even tested? That's my question.
Under 3-1-504, dealing with executive orders, it gives the county executive the power to protect the or to be able the power to be able to take actions to protect the health, safety, and welfare of persons within the county. Now, there is an enumerated list as part of 31504, but that is not an exhaustive list. There are other things that that would be allowed as well, so long as they are to protect the health, safety, and welfare. And I'm happy, Councilman Crandall, to discuss the issue further with you offline if you have additional questions for me.
Thank you, Mr. Benjamin. This is an ongoing debate between us, as you realize. But as you said, the powers under the state of emergency are clearly enumerated in the charter. Well, and there's nothing in there about vaccinations or requiring people to be tested. So we can discuss it offline. I've made my point, and I appreciate your response.
I just want to add that, again, that there are things that are enumerated, but that is not an exhaustive list. He may do things to protect the health, safety, and welfare of persons, including those things. But as I said, it's not an exhaustive list, but we can discuss further offline, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You know, I would, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Hey, Councilwoman Beth.
This isn't, I guess you could compare this. So back in, I want to say 2006, I do not know how I contracted them, but I had got the shingles, and I was very, very sick with the shingles. And I'm gonna say after about 2 weeks, the pain had subsided. I'd never wish the shingles on anybody. It's the most painful thing I've ever had to deal with in my life. I had them on my throat and down to my chest. After about 2 weeks, I wasn't in pain anymore, and the lesions started to scab up, and I wanted to go back to work. I was not allowed by my doctor. I was not allowed by the county to come back until I had absolutely not one lesion on my body. And that took 8 weeks. I missed 8 weeks of work because we had, at that time, just on the mezzanine on the executive floor, there were 3 people that had never had the chicken pox before, and Melina Colon was pregnant. And if I would have returned back to work with, you know, and the authorities to be hadn't stopped me, and Melina's baby could have been born deformed. I could have given other people the shingles. So I get it. While sometimes the government has to say, no, you can't, you know, because you could be harmful to others. And like I said, I didn't want to be out of work for 8 weeks, but I had to be because we had to protect other people. And that, we weren't even considering all the other people I could come in contact with. We were just talking about on my floor. So they're, you know, highly contagious and could really affect people, and could have actually, you know, affected someone's baby before it was even born. Julian, I agree with you. Sometimes we just have to, you know, have others protect ourselves from others.
Yeah. Because the reality is every day there are people clogging up the hospitals that are ill, and many of them, whether they die or don't die, many of them will end up with long-term health effects. At the end of the day, it becomes a burden not just on that person and that person's family, but it's a burden on the rest of us. When something happened to you and you can't go to that emergency room because they're full, or they don't have beds that to treat you because the ICU is full, and those people are sitting there wishing they had gotten a vaccine, wishing they would have not listened to other people on the Facebook or social media or internet or wherever, telling them that somehow they don't have to worry about it. We're talking about saving lives and unfortunately saving lives from people that may not even be, I was going to say a bad word, they may not be willing to save themselves at this moment.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go right ahead, Councilman.
thank you. Mr. Benjamin, is it true that Dr. Branch, as the county's health officer, has the responsibility of making certain that Baltimore County's people are healthy? And doesn't he have the power to institute mandatory vaccines or mask coverings on people's faces, etc., if he believes that that's needed to protect the health and welfare of the citizens of Baltimore County?
There's certainly provisions within COMAR that would allow Dr. Branch to be able to take certain actions to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. And that's something that I can provide for you and the members off as well before the meeting on Monday. But yes, he does have the certain powers under COMAR to protect the citizens of the county.
Okay. Do you know if he was, I assume he's involved in all these decisions along with the county executive? I'm certain he advises. the
Yes, he
county-
is, sir. Yes, he is.
Who was that?
This is Stacy.
Okay.
Absolutely. Dr.
Yeah.
Branch is a core decision maker on all of these steps, along with OOL, because we have to ensure that we are operating within our authority, which is one of my bottom line principles, that we have to operate within our authority to be able to implement anything that we're dealing with when it comes to addressing the pandemic. But Dr.
So-
Branch is right there.
Are you saying then that in order for the county executive to be able to order the vaccines for county employees, et cetera, that he needs a collaboration and support of Dr. Branch as well?
It's Dr. Branch's recommendation. Yes, sir.
I
The,
thought so.
the authority, in addition to Dr. Branch's recommendation that this is in the best interest for our county and our workforce who
Right.
serve the public. Yes, sir. And he has given that recommendation multiple times.
Does he have the power then, Dr. Branch, in your opinion, to issue these orders on his own?
I'll defer to James, but from our discussions back and forth on this, no.
Well, okay. Well, what about, let's say you have let's say the gunpowder stream, and then the gunpowder is, there's a detectable amount of contaminants that could be hazardous to an individual swimming in that water. Does Dr. Branch have the authority to close that area so there's no swimming allowed, or does it take the county executive as well?
I have to defer to Attorney Benjamin on that.
He would be able, if there was, again, if there's a situation where you're talking about a threat to the public safety, health, and welfare, Dr. Branch certainly would have the authority to be able to, shut down a particular location. But I think that what we're talking about here is, I think that that's a separate issue, I guess, what we're talking about here, and what I was talking about earlier as far as the county executive's authority pursuant to the charter. And so, as I said to Councilman Crandall, being able to share with the members for their consideration prior to the vote on Monday, information relating to authority as far as workplace rules and things of that nature as it concerns the vaccine, I'm happy to do.
Thank you.
That's the operative point. It's a workplace rule.
Any additional questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilman Dakota.
If we were to add metrics to this, what would make it worthwhile in terms of how many lives were spared if they were vaccinated? Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 10? Is it 50? Is it 100? I would say that it's 1. So if we do the right thing and one person doesn't end up in the emergency room, ICU, wishing he or she had gotten the COVID vaccine, I would say what we do here on the council is worth it. And I would say that what the county executive does is worth it. If just one person, and I think that the actions that I hope we'll take will be helpful to many, many people. But I think even if we're only successful in saving one through these actions, we'll have done the right thing. And I know at least I'll sleep better at night now. I think my colleagues will too. There's a concept that I hear my rabbi say, it's called tikkun olam. And I know that we separate church and state, but it's a pretty decent concept. And it suggests that if you save one life, it's as if you have saved the world. And so it's something we should think about as a council. And that's it. Thank you for a few minutes to allow me to preach, Mr. Chair.
You're more than welcome. Any additional questions or comments? All right, well, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening, great week, and I guess we'll see everyone Monday.